everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Easton Park Talk. We're here with our very new neighbor, Dr. Jeff. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
When did you move into Easton Park?
I'm pretty fresh off the boat. I haven't even been here for a month. I haven't made a single mortgage payment yet.
Oh my goodness. Who's your builder?
Perry.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
I'm very happy with the house. It was I didn't like build it out per se.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they call it a spec home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I was just in a situation where my lease was ending.
Okay.
You know, I had to be a homeowner at some point in time, so I just finally bit the bullet and did it. But it had to be a fairly quick process, so I didn't plan anything building wise. They had a home that was already done. I said, I'll take it.
Beautiful.
And here we are.
Yeah, I think that's probably best. Like the whole design center thing, like it's fun. It was fun. We built and designed this home, but it's changed so much since then. And and it's like there's so many decisions.
Well, I think a lot of people enjoy that process.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just need a house, and I looked at a couple in the area, and I really liked this one.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a pissing match to get it.
I bet.
Between whoever else was trying to get it, but we got it in the end. So
you won.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Excellent. Are you by yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Me and my dog Charlie.
Charlie. What kind of dog do you have?
He's a Shiba Inu.
Oh, fun. Those are super cool.
Yeah,
you don't see a lot of those.
He's a cutie. Yep.
Charlie. That's very cool. Has he been to the dog park?
No, we haven't. And it's funny, I didn't even know we had a dog park. I drive by it every day and I see this big plot of grass.
Yeah.
But it's so early in the morning that no one's there.
Okay.
So I just happened to be coming home the other day and it's full of dogs. So now I know. I'm excited to take him there.
Charlie's going to love it. It's a great dog park. People are super friendly. It was we've been here since 2018 and the dog park was like this, like we knew it was coming. We just didn't know where.
Yeah.
And we didn't know when. And apparently that's a temporary dog park.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what they say, but it's been there for a long time.
Okay.
So what you could do is like take Charlie to go get coffee at Siniso. Have you done that yet?
I have not done that.
You have so many things.
I have a lot of things. And one of there's an amenity that I think Easton Park is really lacking.
Okay.
And I think, it would bring a lot of value to the neighborhood. The building that I used to be in had this sort of like dog grooming station.
Okay.
And the amount of space and resources you have here are much more vast.
Yeah. Like it was like you could go in by yourself.
Yeah, it was sort of like that. But,
Okay.
I think here you could bring it up to another level even.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have it staffed with somebody. I mean, how many people in the neighborhood don't have a dog?
Oh, everyone. What is this? Is this new to Easton Park?
Paws on Chacon.
Oh, guess what? Your dreams are about to come true. Paws on Chacon, which is, where the Frost Bank is?
Yes.
Okay, that whole new area?
Yep.
There you go.
Oh.
Problem solved.
I should be running this place.
Yeah. Seriously, you're making dreams come true right now. Get your dog washed for, does that say $18.99?
That's a deal.
Regardless of size?
That's a deal. Well, he's not huge, but that's a deal.
That is a deal because we have St. Bernard. We have St. Bernard. So that's $18.99 for a dog wash for this lady. Would be excellent. And you get 3 shampoos to choose from.
I'm sold.
Well, we're hoping that they'll come chat with us on our podcast because... Oh, they're coming to chat with us on the
chat
podcast.
with me. Call me.
Yeah. Hey, it was Dr. Jeff's idea. I mean, you should give him a commission even though the lease is already signed. But, it was it's a great idea.
I just want the dog hair off my floor. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Very cool. So there's so many things I have to tell you about Easton Park, especially now that I know that you haven't been to Siniso. It's a coffee truck. So, okay, you know where the dog park is?
Yep.
Across the street from that is like, what do they call it? Treehouse Park? Treehouse Park. There's a coffee truck there that will change your life.
Okay.
It's owned by residents of Easton Park. They started it. It's been, I don't know, a couple years, a year and a half maybe.
Okay.
They have 2 trucks, and there's rumors that there's another location opening up.
It's called Sinizo?
Sinizo.
Sinizo.
Cenizo.
Okay, ignorant American. What does that mean?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Harrison could tell you. So Harrison and Nancy live in the neighborhood. They live in Skyline, I believe, and they're incredible people. We've had the opportunity to become friends with them, and it's been absolutely a joy. Cenizo means
That's all in Spanish.
it's in Spanish. I don't habla. Um, it's a plant. That's why there's plants on there. It's painted on the side of the truck.
All right,
okay.
I dig it.
Anyway, they put something, and I joke with Harrison a lot because I'm like, what are you putting in this coffee? Because we wake up and crave it. Like it's very good. And Harrison talks all the time, and he came on the podcast about the coffee's essentially 2 ingredients. It's beans and water. Mm-hmm. And so their word or their motto is intentionality, and they're very specific about where they source their beans and the family that it comes from.
Well, I'm sure
and
that makes all the difference.
Yeah. Well, it's excellent coffee. So walk Charlie over, get some coffee, and then walk to the dog park.
Done.
It sounds like a great Saturday
just
morning.
Planned my Saturday.
Yeah, or Friday. Because are you seeing patients on Friday?
We have clinic on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Saturday, perfect.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, if you go, Steve and I will meet you over there with Kate and dog. We could see your first coffee experience and go to the dog park. Kate loves the dog park. Okay, so that's all fun. You're a doctor. You're like saving lives.
I wouldn't go that far, but
maybe
I'm saving limbs.
Saving limbs. The bottom limbs.
Yep.
Excellent. So, why medicine?
So, I feel it's sort of an unfortunate need in medicine.
Okay.
Americans aren't getting healthier, we'll put it that way, and diabetes in this country is on the rise.
Yeah.
And there's just such a shortage of doctors who are able to do this work.
Okay.
So, back when I was in school, I was asking myself the question, like, if I wanted to go into medicine, where would I have the most utility? Where is there a need, and how can I help out? And this just sort of jumped to the front of the line.
Okay.
So
podiatry.
Yep.
Is it but like going back a little further, like why you're in high school, you're choosing your major, did you go pre-med?
Nope.
Like
in high school it was never a thought.
Okay.
No. I was I took a bit of a turn. I was actually a violin performance major my first year of college.
Okay.
Yep. And I'll never forget in high school. So in New York you have Math A, which is essentially like algebra geometry. And then you have Math B when you're a junior and senior, and that's pre-calc.
Okay.
Now, Math B is not mandatory. I'll never forget the day that I had my math teacher kneel down, next to my desk, and he said, "Jeff, I noticed you didn't sign up for Math B." And I said, "I'm not going to need it. I'm going to school. I've got my plans all set already."
Says the now surgeon.
Right. And so when I told my what are they called when you're in your undergrad? An academic advisor. Yeah, that I wanted to switch to my genetics it was genetics at the time.
Okay.
Which is aligned nicely with pre-med. He was kind of like, from there to there, and I said, yeah. And it's mandated by most medical schools in the country that you have to take Calc 1 and 2 in college.
Okay.
So I went from Math A, skipped Math B to calculus. It was a difficult jump.
I would imagine.
Yeah. But
it just, but what made that transition from playing the violin to podiatry, surgery?
Yep. It's happenstance, it's fate, whatever you want to call it.
You just had a dream?
Like I said, I was a genetics major. I worked for a brief period of time working as a cancer researcher at Roswell Park Cancer Institute in Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
And that's when I started to think, like, maybe I'm going to go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to do something in medicine. I don't know what my options are.
Yeah.
And just being in that environment, you start to see, like, what we need as a society.
Yeah.
So, job security.
Yeah. Yeah. So you filled it. That's really cool. I think that there's got to be a connection or some level of overlap to musician and surgeon.
I think that there's a correlation there.
Yeah.
I know a lot of surgeons who are musically inclined, who play an instrument of some kind. I can't speak to why that is.
Me neither, but I think it's like I don't know, a trend, but it's like, I don't mean trend like trendy on TikTok, but like you see a lot of it, right?
Like
where
a statistical trend. Yeah.
Yeah, where there's a lot of surgeons are like musicians also, and I wonder, I don't know. I will research because I'm interested.
I think there's work to be done there.
Yeah. I think that's really, really cool. And I would imagine, I don't know, it's fascinating to me because, so we'll, why don't we both do some research and we'll come back together. And you're like, "Nicole, I'm busy. I got surgeries to do."
Busy.
So you went into podiatry. Pop quiz, how many bones in the human foot?
It depends on how you're measuring it.
Oh.
Yeah, because some people don't have certain sesamoid bones.
Really?
And a lot of people have extra bones in their feet.
What? Okay, on
Yes.
on average,
But
textbook.
In general, it can be stated that the feet contain a quarter of all of the bones in your body.
Dang.
Yep, that's both feet.
That's still like a lot.
Yeah, it's
A lot of little.
It's a lot of little bones.
You're a detail guy.
Yep.
I guess you would have to be. So let's talk about just kind of like the rise in need for you and diabetes and all of that. Like, what do you think? Is it the American diet? Is it
Certainly. Food in this country is like way over fortified with not only sugar, but with like nutrients and things like this. We always tend to think of it's good to have more of those things. But it reaches a point where it's not doing anything for you. It's not serving you in any way. So at least with nutrients and vitamins and those types of things, they may not have any toxic effects. But all of the sugar that's in our food is certainly posing a problem, and it's such a tax on the American healthcare system.
Yeah, yeah. And so, like, what do you recommend, just like diet wise? Because you're like the feet are the brunt of everything, right? Like, so you're seeing it all.
I have a hot take.
Okay, I love a hot take.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get some flack for this.
Okay.
If you're somebody like me who has a sweet tooth, and I do, like baked goods are my kryptonite.
Okay.
The best change that you can make for your health is to switch to diet soda, because I know that if you like sweets, you're drinking pop or soda.
Yeah.
You got to switch to diet, and
Okay.
you know it's you got to pick and choose your battles. I will die on this hill.
Okay.
People are coming at me all the time. Oh, but those artificial sweeteners are so bad for you. Listen, I cut people's feet off for a living.
Yeah, you're like, I see the other side.
At the risk of sounding, a little bit conceited, I think I have a little bit of a right to say, this is a better choice for your health. If you're gonna drink soda, and I'm going to,
Yeah.
it's going to be diet soda.
Okay.
And I go ham on that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like a 4 or 5 can a day Diet Coke drinker.
Okay.
But my A1C, which is a way of measuring your blood glucose over a long period of time, 3 months, is within the normal range.
Okay.
And I expect that it will be, if I maintain my dietary habits, because they haven't changed in a decade.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
interesting. So I love Diet Coke. That's usually all I drink. Like, I know I just handed you like a regular Coke, which to me, I would have been like, I can't do that. First of all, regular Coke and soda that isn't diet makes my tongue feel hairy. I don't know what it is. Like,
Okay.
I don't know why.
I feel like I've heard that before.
it's weird.
Yeah.
But diet soda doesn't. And I think that like Diet Coke is superior to regular Coke.
Absolutely. But, to all my people out there who are a little bit apprehensive, if I can just tell you, there isn't an acclimatory period. You have to sort of drink Diet Coke for a little while, a couple weeks. You're not going to like it at first. I did not like it
if
at
you're
first.
switching.
Yes, if you're going to make that choice.
Okay.
Because I sort of evangelize this. I tell people all the time, because it's the liquid sugars in the end that are going to do you in.
Okay.
With solid food, if there's a lot of sugar in it, at least you're able to subtract the fibrous content.
Okay.
You eat an apple, it has so many grams of sugar, but you can subtract the grams of fiber out of that apple.
Sure.
And effectively, that's the amount of carbohydrates that you're getting. You can't do that with soda.
liquids.
Yep,
Yeah.
and it'll spike your glucose so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Diabetes is scary. My brother has diabetes and it came up later in life. And then my nephew, on my dad's side, diabetes, my cardiologist checks me every year. So far so good. But it was amazing. Just it sneaks up on you for whatever reason. And they're both my nephew had lost a lot of weight on purpose.
Okay, good.
And then lost like a lot of weight because he had diabetes, and it was like he couldn't hold weight, which was wild. We were like, "Are you on drugs? Like, what is wrong with you?" Because he was a big guy and he was
Right.
small, and now he manages. It's type. Which one is the one because of weight, and which is the one because of?
Type 2 is diabetes is usually something that people acquire throughout their life because of dietary habits and
Okay.
lifestyle. That's more of an issue of insulin resistance.
Okay.
So type 1 diabetes is more usually born with that, and it's because your pancreas can't make insulin, or that the insulin that it's making is denatured in some way that it's not functioning properly.
It's so fascinating because he was like, man, I was trying to get healthy, and then I got diabetes, and we were like, well, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how it worked. But now forever, he's, checking his blood sugar, and he's very, very good about it. My brother could probably be better. Gabe, be better. Because you worry about that, right? Like,
absolutely. And at our office, first and foremost, I'm a podiatrist. I'm a foot and ankle surgeon, and I try to stay in my lane the best I can.
Yeah.
But I understand that a lot of people either don't have access to primary care faculties, or they just don't know the best way to take care of themselves. So what we find that we're doing at our office a lot is I don't manage people's diabetes, but I help them get a sense of where they're at in their disease through lab work. Oftentimes I find that I'm diagnosing diabetes, which is not something that I ever expected to do.
Interesting.
Yeah. People will come in and I'll say, did you know that you're diabetic?
And they didn't know?
They had no idea.
And just based on what their feet look like.
Well, I'll send them to get labs if I'm suspicious.
Sure, of course.
If they have, clinical indications that they may be diabetic, I'll ask first and foremost, do you have a history of diabetes? And as far as I know, no.
Sure.
But I'll send them to get some labs. And, those values are very definitive. There's very little room for ambiguity there.
Sure.
So when I get those back, I'll say, you're a raging diabetic. We have to make some, changes right away to set you up for success. And one of those is going to be getting you set up with a GP who's going to help you manage this disease, because although I can play hand in the diagnostics of it, I'm not going to treat this for you.
Right. Well, could you?
I was trained to, but
Okay.
like I said, that would be more of an issue if I lived out in the sticks and there, in a town with 100 people, and there was no primary care doctor. Yeah, in a pinch I can help out, but I'll
that's
stay in my lane. Yeah.
Yeah. You're a podiatrist, but it's okay. So if someone what are those clinical signs that you're like, okay?
So the biggest thing that we see is it's like a diabetic foot ulcer. They're really gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a normal, healthy person should not be developing ulcers on their feet. If the skin starts to become lichenified, if it starts to thicken and change its texture.
I don't mean to make a face. I'm sorry.
No, it's if you want to check out I have an Instagram page.
Okay.
Okay. It's called Metatartales.
I love this.
Yeah. And,
okay.
it's my work account. I don't post it often because I only post interesting things. I don't post routine stuff.
Okay.
So if something comes,
it's not like a feet page.
It's not like a foot fetish page. No, none of that. But you'll find things on there. Like I had a patient once who had blue bones, so that made it up on there.
Blue bones.
Blue bones. It's like a rare metabolic side effect from taking minocycline. Yeah, it's pretty rare. But
what?
But anyway, if I see something interesting like changes in skin texture that that might tip me off that you might be diabetic, or if you're experiencing neuropathy.
Yeah.
Then I'll send you to get labs.
Yeah. Gosh, it is, and this is educational, truly. Because if you don't know, and you're just like you said, we were talking about earlier before we turned the cameras on, kids might get a ingrown toenail, and it seems innocent enough, or they don't tell mom and dad because maybe they don't know, maybe they can't communicate it, maybe they don't want to deal with it, and then they're ill. Yeah,
it's a difficult area of the body to heal. It's the last stop on the vascular highway.
Yeah,
it's the short end of the stick on everything. So
so you're treating, are you seeing a majority of your patients, it sounds like they're diabetic?
Yes. The majority of my surgical patients.
Okay.
I like to think that for foot and ankle care, I can provide anything that my patients need. I have the training and I have the practice to provide whatever somebody might need in that realm. We do see a lot of sports medicine stuff.
Sure.
People who are playing intramural sports, injuries and things like that, and well equipped to manage those as well.
Okay. Yeah. So if you are lucky enough to have a PPO plan where you don't need a referral, for those that don't know, HMO, you need a referral from your GP.
Right.
PPO, you don't. EPO, I don't really know what the EPO game is. We have one. I don't know what the difference is. But if someone is a PPO patient, payer, I don't know what the right terminology is. Like, at what point would they just be like, I don't need to go see my GP. I just need to go to the podiatrist. Like, like, what are reasons people would come to see you?
I mean, it can range from anything. The thing I like about my field is that it can be anything from, I've had this weird mole on my foot for like 8 years, isn't a thing, but I'd like to know more about it.
Okay.
It can be something as benign as that.
Okay.
It can be, I was just in an awful motorcycle accident and I broke, 8 bones in my foot. Now I need to be reconstructed. It can
Okay.
be born out of systemic disease. We talked a lot about diabetes, but it could also be peripheral vascular disease.
Sure.
It can be something congenital, something that you were born with.
Yeah.
I fix a lot of what's called equinus, which is a contracture that you're born with in your Achilles tendon. That's something that we see every now and then.
Okay.
So it's really a full spectrum, anything from dermatological care, infectious disease, musculoskeletal. We do it all.
Awesome. Very cool. Are you the only practicing doctor in your clinic?
At the moment, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got big plans to expand. But
Excellent. So let's talk about that, because that's really exciting. We talk a lot about entrepreneurial ventures on this podcast. So you go to med school, you do your residency, all the things, you go and work for someone. At what point you're like, I need to go to do my own clinic?
It was never on my radar. Starting your own practice is such an arduous task. It really is. And I think it's something that a lot of people would just not want to, they don't want to be bothered with it.
Sure.
Like the fruits of their labor just don't seem worth it.
Yeah.
I finished my residency in 2020.
Okay.
It was the height of the pandemic. It was at a time where most medical offices were laying people off, let alone, they weren't hiring them. So I got a couple job offers. They weren't in places that were really, we'll say posh.
Okay.
So my first job out of residency was in Bakersfield, California.
Okay.
Okay, amongst all the oil fields.
Yep.
And I can't say that my experience there was bad.
Okay.
Loved the people I work with. My boss worked me very hard, though. I was seeing like 50 patients a day. And I think a lot of people think that that's an exaggeration. It's not.
Yeah.
But when you have 16 exam rooms, you just fill them up and you're going boom, boom, boom. And as you're seeing those patients, the staff is turning over those rooms that you were just
behind
in.
you.
Yeah. So
how long do you spend, like, on a day with 50 people? Like, how long are you spending with each patient?
Oh gosh, it couldn't have been more than a few minutes.
Right.
And I do feel bad about it. And that's one of the things that we're focusing on a lot these days is I try to be very available to my patients.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that. But I was there for 2 years.
Okay.
I started to get burned out very quickly.
Sure.
And it just got to a point where, I didn't see a path to partnership there. So I was like, I will start my own practice. Question mark.
Yeah.
So, and that's how we ended up here. I knew Austin was fertile ground to start business. I know a lot of native Texans really hate that, but, I moved here. I fell in love with it right away. I absolutely love it here. And my biggest fear, since we're talking about entrepreneurship, was failure. Because I think that anytime you are venturing out on anything entrepreneurial, there's no guarantee of success.
Right.
There's this very healthy fear that you may fail and that you've just threw all of your money at this thing and you have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
And I remember there was my first couple days there at the office, my fears were a little bit realized. It's me sitting behind a counter, kind of just,
hoping someone walks in the door.
Waiting for that phone to ring, waiting for that door to open, And that came to pass, but slowly but surely, people started coming. Our name's getting out there. We're getting referrals from hospitals, other providers. We're getting really great feedback from our patients. And I really love the work that we're doing.
Awesome. So you were talking about seeing 50 people a day, and you're just talking about, like, that doesn't seem to be your goal at this point. No,
I absolutely never want to go back to that. I told my office manager, Sherry, we're like BFFs at the office. She's such a gem.
Cool.
I think good people, good employees are hard to find.
Yes.
And she was such a find.
Yeah. How'd you find her?
I put an ad out on Indeed.
Cool.
And I have to just quickly mention one of the things I put on there is that being able to speak Spanish would really work in your favor. I interviewed some people, they weren't necessarily bad, but then Sherry came in. She said, I don't speak Spanish at all.
Okay.
She came in from her with her Whole Foods outfit on, and she's just coming from shift work at another job.
Yep.
And I just knew right away. I said, she's got it.
Yeah. And this is the HR nerd in me coming out. Whole Foods, anyone from Whole Foods is going to be an excellent hire. Their recruiting and their staffing and their training and anyone from Whole Foods is going to be an excellent employee.
Yeah, she's been wonderful. So I told her, when we started, the ideal day for me would be capped somewhere around 15 patients a day.
Okay.
And some days we're hitting that metric.
Awesome.
That gives me enough time to be able to provide a level of accessibility to my patients that I think they appreciate. For my surgical patients, sometimes, not all the time, I'm even giving them my cell phone number.
Sure.
Because I want them to know that I understand that I have done something to you that's impacting your life.
Yep.
I want you to be able to reach out to me if you need me.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that that's like a level of healthcare that most people haven't seen in a really long time. I remember growing up, I went to the same doctor from the time I was a kid until I was into college, and he's down in New Braunfels, Dr. Stegall, and became family friend. He was family friends. My grandparents went to him, my parents went to him, I went to him, my cousins went to him, and we knew them and we knew him and he knew us, and it was really, really cool. And if something weird happened, you could just call him. It was
Right.
not a big deal, but that has changed drastically.
It really has. And I sort of feel this pull in the industry to become what healthcare, this conglomeration of what healthcare is today.
Yeah.
And every day it's a little bit of, I have to practice a little bit of resistance. We're only 2 years old. We have had offers to buy our practice.
Congrats.
Thank you. But
that's awesome.
But absolutely not.
Yeah. Right.
We are, look, I don't want to make it sound like we're doing we're challenging the status quo and we're doing miraculous things. But like I said, I'm really proud of the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
I think that we're a little bit unconventional in many ways.
Cool.
But we pride ourselves on that.
Yeah, you should.
On being accessible to our patients, to working with patients that may not have, maybe for insurance reasons, access to healthcare that others don't, and things like that. And, there's absolutely something to be said about the people who need us the most got themselves into the situations because they were set up for failure.
Sure.
They don't have dietary resources available. They can't afford to eat healthy.
Right.
So we consider all of those things, and that's the way that I like to practice medicine.
Yeah, it's kind of like taking a social work stance, right? You start with the patient, and then you kind of work yourself out of that. Can we talk about access to healthcare for a second?
Absolutely.
Because that's a really big, we talked earlier, we own an HR company. The biggest issue that we're trying to solve for most of our clients we have one client that has 500 employees, and that's kind of, even though healthcare for them is, you think the larger the group, the better the deal. That's not always the case, because you're looking at high claims reports, you're looking at demographics. And a lot of the times, even when healthcare is provided, the education of how to use it, if they've never had healthcare before, they don't know that they can just go to the doctor.
Right.
Or maybe they live in this specific client that I'm talking about. They have 500 employees all over the United States. Maybe they live in, some tiny little town in Iowa, and the closest doctor is an hour and a half away, right? There's all these little things that we don't think about, but ultimately what we come across with our normal size client is between 5 and 50 employees. And that is a struggle to find affordable healthcare. And when I say healthcare, insurance to provide to employees and then educate them and all that. There's a lot of new movement in the access to healthcare space, which is not insurance. And I'm interested to hear your opinion on, if you're comfortable sharing, giving people, there are programs coming out. Steve and I are working with one right now. It's excellent. Giving people access to healthcare that isn't insurance. So should you get cancer, should you get into a car accident? I don't know how that would work, but I think I have my podiatrist who's on this network. It's the Aetna network, which is this access to healthcare. So huge network. They've done great work. Says that I might have diabetes. I have access to healthcare to go get my labs from Lab X or Lab Corp, whatever it is. The podiatrist says, yes, I do have diabetes. And now they have access to go to a GP, and it's at a nominal cost. For a family, it could be $100 a month for a family that they can go have access to healthcare.
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on just like insurance as it is today, and like if you're comfortable,
Yeah, absolutely,
and like how I think that we have to there has to be movement to change it.
I absolutely agree, and I'm glad that we're talking about this because
Okay.
I'm such a huge proponent of Medicare for all.
Yes.
And sometimes it feels like an uphill battle. I won't steer this into politics, I promise. But
Sure.
I know that a lot of my colleagues, I don't know if it's the idea of socialized medicine that they don't like, or it's all of the other things, the political things that it's attached to.
Sure.
But there is a lot of pushback in the medical community amongst my colleagues about things like Medicare for all or universal health care. I look at it as, from a sheer earnings perspective,
Sure.
we only have to benefit. Imagine now having
We being
access.
physicians?
Correct.
Okay.
There's a societal impact, which would be best for everyone if just everyone had healthcare. That's
Right.
an obvious thing.
Right.
But I think, if I'm trying to sell one of my colleagues on this idea, I'm like, why are you so opposed to this? Because I know that there are patients that, unless they want to pay, a small cash fee, I can't see. You mentioned Aetna. Aetna's one of the only networks that we can't get in, and
Okay.
it's not anyone's fault. It's a vacancy thing. Health insurance panels will only allow so many specialty providers per zip code into their panel.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, and we're a little bit new, and they just said for podiatry per your zip code, we don't have any vacancies right now, and it could be 10 years before they do.
Wow.
So
wow.
yeah.
It's just another caveat
So-
of like the control
Right.
of the health insurance companies.
So I imagine a world where that's not a problem.
right.
Where you call my office and I don't have to, you spend 3 minutes bleeding your heart out telling me all your problems, and then you tell me you have Aetna, and
Can't see it.
I can't. I can see you, but it's going to be at
Cash.
your expense, and I don't want to have to do that. If there was something like Medicare for all, call it what you want.
Sure.
Healthcare accessibility.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely. Come. It'll help you. It'll help me.
Right.
And I think everyone would be better off.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's even like a discussion anymore. It's like beyond me.
Yeah.
It's because it's money. It's all about there. It's the Bucas of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna, right?
Yep. Those are the big ones.
Those are the big ends, and like they run it, and it's
Yeah.
wild. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier. A person that we're partnering with, he spent his career as a high level hospital administration over a group of hospitals in Houston, and he's like, it's corrupt. It's just absolutely corrupt. It can't be legal, but it is.
Yeah.
It's insane. And I think that people, like, as we're trying to change, we're thought leaders in our space. We're into human resources. We want to help people. We want to help companies, and like their top cost is their human capital, their employees, and then it's premiums. And it is, and the thing is, healthcare is one of the only expenses that you can count on. It's gonna go up at least 8%. We tell people to budget for 12.5. I just had a client, it went up 45%.
Wow.
And that's high claims, which the employer can't. You can't be like, hey, I know you're really sick. Please don't go to the doctor because it's really going to screw our renewal next year.
Right.
Right? Like, you can't do that. And then you can't, like, not that you would, but you can't terminate someone based on a high claim.
Right,
That's
absolutely.
called
Yeah.
being truly illegal.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's such a loss for everyone. Like, I would assume physicians, I would assume all practices, and then the employer and the employee. And it's just like, why is this not a thing yet?
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe someday we'll see a paradigm shift, because if our government is going to act on this, I know a lot of doctors who are throwing in the towel and they're moving to a cash only model.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to do that, but it is sometimes such a task to get things approved,
Sure.
reauthorized for patients, services that they need. It's such a circus. It really is.
It is.
Like if me, the person with lots of degrees hanging on the wall, tells you, the insurance company, hey, my patient needs this, just believe me.
Right.
I'm not telling you that they need it because I think it's fun.
Right. You're not trying to cut someone's foot off
Right.
for funsies.
Absolutely not.
Like, it's serious.
But they'll want to see loads of documentation, diagnostic imaging, all of these things, only to arrive at this ultimate, I told you so. Like, I told you we were going to end up here, and here we are.
Right. And the thing that floors me about that, like to go one step further, is it's not a doctor making that decision, right? On the insurance side.
Usually not. Sometimes you'll do what's called a peer-to-peer.
Okay.
And there are doctors who work for the insurance company.
Okay.
And these things are, again, it's such a circus. It always ends up the same thing. Hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so. Hi, Dr. So-and-so. This is my patient. This is what's wrong with them. This is what I'm recommending for them. Okay, check. There you go. That's how the conversation goes every time.
When you talk to a doctor. That
Yes,
works for
United
the insurance
Healthcare, if
company.
you're watching, be better.
Yes. Yes. It's like, and I feel like time when it comes to healthcare, like a surgery or something that needs action, time is only working against you. And you're going through this, like you said, a circus of like trying to get the approvals and, oh, well, now we need to send you for these images, or you're like, meanwhile, their toes are turning black.
Right.
Like, you're like, we don't have time for this.
Yeah. And it stresses me out.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine what that patient's going through.
Right. Right. It's because it's their life.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really big deal.
Yeah.
And when people say, like, I've heard, it was a representative from an insurance company, which I won't name. But they're like, it's not like life or death. And I was like, it is like life or death. Like, how could you, like, sure, people that are working, you know, doing data entry, sure, that's not life or death. Outside of healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you know, and you hear people say that, oh, don't stress, it's not life or death, or we're not saving babies. But they literally are. Like, it is. Time is important. Like,
Yeah.
it floors me.
It's I don't have an answer. I'm not a politician, so it's not my
Yeah.
it's not my responsibility to have an answer. But being on the person like rendering or putting
Sure.
to practice these policies that are in place, it can be difficult.
Sure. And then do you guys, on the physician side, let's say that someone goes through, you do a surgery for them, and then the claim, I don't know, it's not paid or they're calling you. And so you're like almost, or your staff probably is like having
Yeah.
to be like, well, you really need to call your insurance company because we can't, you know, maybe let's see how we coded it, or.
Yeah. So there's well, first and foremost, if there was ever a situation where a procedure, you're kind of talking about surgery there,
Sure.
wasn't paid, we would never put that expense on the patient. We would just eat that cost.
Oh, you guys, is that practice? Is that like standard practice?
I don't think so.
It is for you.
Yeah, I just
for
can't
you.
imagine that. I mean, these are not small sums.
Right.
So if I was going to do surgery on someone and our mutual understanding was that their insurance was going to pay for this, and that they didn't, I wouldn't pin that patient with that. I wouldn't leave them with that bill. That being said, we try to be as thorough as we can so that doesn't happen, and
Sure.
it usually doesn't.
Okay.
Insurance is going to find every reason under the sun they can to deny a claim.
Sure.
It's like, you didn't put a comma there,
Right.
Something stupid like that.
Yeah.
We work with a biller. She's excellent.
Awesome.
She does. It's not a 100% first time pass, but you have the option to resubmit. You've got 3 months to resubmit. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And we learned recently, as we're kind of going through this access to healthcare, and, you know, we're really trying to switch the paradigm on it as much as we can in the small space that we're in, is that there's like an expected claim denial that you just, they're like Blue Cross or any of the BUCAs and probably other ones are like required a certain percentage of deny just because people will pay it.
I've heard that. I can't speak to its legitimacy, but I've heard that they have quotas that they got to meet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because and the guy that told us is very credible, who worked in it for years, and he's like, why wouldn't they? People will just pay them. Like,
Right.
you know, you get a $300 bill in the mail, you're like, I don't know, maybe like for me, it's like, is it easier to just pay it? Do I want to fight? Like, let me just write the check. You know, like, why wouldn't they do it? It totally makes sense. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, and we're getting away from your business. But so Premier Podiatry, how'd you come up with the name?
Alliteration.
Okay.
And Premier is kind of like, once you start paying attention to it, you'll notice that a lot of medical groups use that word in their
Okay.
name. I don't know why. I'm certainly not a wordsmith.
Okay. Fair enough.
And it's not something that I wanted to dwell a lot about.
Sure.
But I don't know. It seemed to fit.
I like it. Yeah, I like your logo too. It's really cool.
Oh, an interesting thing about our logo is
Okay.
that if you notice, it's sort of a double helix.
Yeah.
I have another entrepreneurial endeavor that I'm working on in the background.
Okay. I love this.
It's very technical, so I apologize. We don't have to it's a whole ball yarn, and we don't have to
let's
go
go
into it. But when researchers want to study rare disease,
Okay.
and I mentioned I have a little bit of a background in genetics, there exist throughout the world these things called DNA repositories
Okay.
that they can solicit to acquire samples. They pay for samples of DNA, tissue, you name it, of patients who had this rare condition.
Okay.
Because if I'm Dr. Joe Schmo and I want to study something very rare, I may not have access to anyone who has that disease.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So those patients have tissues banked away at central locations throughout the world. These are called DNA repositories. Currently, there isn't one that exists for musculoskeletal disease or defects of the human skeleton. So there's a reason that our logo kind of looks like a DNA double helix. And
Love
it's because
that.
I'm starting a second company called Orthonomics,
Okay.
in which we'll be banking DNA samples from patients who we see, and I do see some from time to time who have interesting defects in their lower extremity.
Interesting.
So that they can be researched. We will not play any role in the research side of things, but merely ascertaining patients for that study, so those things can be investigated.
That's awesome. And so like, is that as the surgeon your responsibility to see something rare and be like, oh, we need to?
Not necessarily. No, there's no expectation on a surgeon
Okay.
to derive an etiology of like, why did this happen?
Okay.
They just need to be able to fix it.
So then how do you decide what DNA to
It's usually
store?
It's usually saliva or blood.
Okay.
That's it. Blood is considered the gold standard.
Okay.
It's got the highest purity. But the chemistries of the DNA collection kits now from saliva, you've heard of 23andMe,
Oh, yeah, of
Ancestry,
course.
are so good about breaking down impurities in bacterial DNA, which you're surely going to get if you take saliva,
Sure.
and just focusing on the human DNA.
So is this like, I don't think I understand. Is it just you do it for every patient?
Just patients who have rare deformity.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like brachymetatarsia as an example.
Yeah. Talk to me like I'm 5.
Yeah, it might be like 1 in 1,000. I'm making this number
Okay.
up, but it might be like 1 in 1,000 patients have this condition called brachymetatarsia, where
Okay.
like one of the metatarsals in your foot is congenitally shortened. I'll see it I think I may have seen it 3 times in my career so far.
Okay.
But there is a consistency. It's usually the fourth metatarsal. Why does this happen? And it really gets to this idea of basic scientific research. Basic doesn't mean it's simple.
Sure.
It means you're trying to answer questions that when you figure them out, it's like, well, what do I do with this information? I don't know. But as scientists, we stand on the shoulders of giants. We tend to use information that's already been discovered to make new discoveries. I think once somebody purified tungsten and found out that it could serve as a resistor to electrical current, they didn't think I could make a light bulb out of this, but someone later did.
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea.
Very cool. That's so very cool. So you went from math A to this. Like that's
I know.
That's really cool. Do you still play the violin?
A little bit, not a lot.
Okay.
It's collecting dust.
Do you pull it out at Christmas time and play like Deck the Halls or?
No.
Okay.
No.
I grew up playing the saxophone and a little bit of piano, and now I haven't played the saxophone in a really long time, but piano I can do like a solid Jingle Bells, Deck
Okay.
the Halls. Probably could do some church music from way back in the day, but it'd be a little rusty for
Okay.
a while. So do you it's just not a passion of yours anymore?
Not really. I mean, I too like to play a little bit of piano. I just bought
Okay.
piano.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I'm sort of kind of working my way, plucking out some things on that.
There's something about we talked about it earlier too. Like there's
Yeah.
something about surgeons and music.
There's a correlation there.
Again,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do some research.
Yeah, get back
I'll
to me on
report
that.
back. I'll
Okay.
report back. You're too busy. You're too busy saving lives. Excellent. So, what do you think so far? So you've been in business 2 years, which is a feat in and of itself. That's huge.
Was that a pun?
Yes, even though I didn't mean for it to be. What do you think has been like? If you had to pick your greatest success so far?
My greatest success.
Other than Sherry, because she sounds like an excellent success.
Sherry's such a gem. Sometimes I just wake up in the morning and I can't help but think I think it's a little bit weird to like think that I'm proud of myself. Again, I don't think we're doing miraculous work. We're not out there impacting lives every single day. But
you are.
But sometimes I'll look at my piano, for instance, and I'll think to myself like, this came from no one. I'm not employed, so like no one paid me for this, or the house that I just bought here at Easton Park, which I love.
Yeah.
So that's sort of, I don't know.
No, there's a moment like Steve and we started our business 7 years ago, and I can't tell you it gets easier because it doesn't.
I'm sure it doesn't.
It gets harder, but in a really good way. And Steve, the only reason we were able to spin up this business, we were able to bootstrap it, was because he had a very high level sales job doing audio video as corporate audio video and or commercial, sorry. And so like while he worked and sold stuff, I also had a job, and then so we started this. But so I was working part-time and doing this full-time, and then he came on 2 years ago. And I think the greatest success for us so far is that we're both employed people through our company, like on salary, getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. Like we run payroll for all of our clients, but we also now run payroll for ourselves, which is like, it's a proud moment, when you're like, you're kind of starting to feel the fruits of we have employees. Like, it's just like, whoa, this is real.
When you feel it's, So I don't know if there will ever be, and I think this is the sentiment you're trying to convey. I don't know if, for me personally, if there will ever be a point where I'm like, I've made it, I've arrived. But I feel like whatever I'm doing is working. Like the process is like, I'm on my way there.
Yeah.
Whatever there is.
Yeah. I think entrepreneurs in general, you'll never get there. We're never, and I think we're all, you'd mentioned earlier something to like being proud of yourself. And I like imposter syndrome's real. There's times, and I certainly hope you don't feel this way as a surgeon, but maybe you do. That like, there's times where we're in meetings and I'm the one making decisions, and I'm like, how am I the one making this decision? Like, why are y'all all looking at me? Which is just wild. In the OR, I'm sure you're like, I am absolutely the one to make this decision.
Yeah, well, I'm very confident in my, in the things that I've been trained to do, this very specific task that I've like dedicated many years of my life to train for. But I mentioned before we started, recording, I have no business running a business. I jumped in feet first, and, sometimes it's a little bit trial and error, but it's working. And yeah, I had a point, but
no, well, your point earlier is that like, you're never like, I made it, and I don't think that we've spent, and I've spent a lot of years of my life in the entrepreneurial community in Austin, and we work with very entrepreneurial people, and that took the risk, jumped in. I don't know what I'm doing, but here we go.
Right.
And the trend of all of the personalities of people that start business is I'll never, like, there's always something else to do. We're not done. You're never done. You're starting another business. Like, just like by evidence of you starting another business. Same with us. Like we're venturing out and doing other things. And it's like, you just have to constantly create. And it's like, you're never, the vision's there, the motive's there, the skill is there. But you're just never going to be done. And you're always going to feel like you could have done better. Like,
of course, you're always your worst critic, but I think that some people will let that put them in a space of non-productivity. But other people can sort of use that to propel themselves. Asking the question, what are all the reasons this isn't going to work?
Right.
For me, isn't a pessimistic view. It's what are the changes I need to make to mitigate failure? Right.
Yeah. And that's, and then you become a leader to your team in a way that like, maybe you are like driving to work and you're just like, oh gosh, I don't know. Maybe you're just having an off day, whatever.
Maybe I'll do.
It happens. But you got to show up as the leader of that office. It's like, hey, Sherry, good morning. How's it go? You can't, I mean, I don't know how you manage, but we try to do that with our team, and I rough on myself, but never 100%, or I'm not 100% all the time, but, it's hard. And there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of risk. There's a lot at stake, it's not for the weak, but it is fun.
It has its moments. It
Yeah.
has, yeah. The fruits are certainly there sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. There are more fruits as time goes on and not. But
I mean,
it's a good
there are
time.
trade-offs are made. I mean, I don't know if I
Yeah.
could ever go back to being employed.
I would rather pull my toenails out.
Yeah, I can help
Seriously.
you with that.
Yeah, if I come to you and I'm like, I need you to pull my toenails out, like it's because I had to go get a job. Like everything has failed. Like this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that a lot of times the decisions I make, and I remember what I was going to say before.
Oh, tell me.
The decisions that I'm making may not be the most efficacious, they may not be the most efficient, but I'm making the decision, and I'm sort of willing to, spend what might have come back to me.
Yeah.
In just having that autonomy, which
Yes.
is, there's something to be said about having that autonomy. You mentioned before about making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I never expected to happen
Okay.
is this. I mean, do you ever experience decision fatigue?
Yes.
I feel like in my day, from every patient that I have to see, I am having to make decisions that can be very impactful.
Yeah.
So sometimes when a decision is brought to my attention that isn't so important, it's just like
Yeah. Yeah. It's yes. I completely understand what you're talking about. Where it's just like, well, I can't use this and Steve would laugh at me, but like, what do you want for dinner? It's like, I don't know, but I'm usually
right.
the one asking
but
him.
but that's exactly it's not dinner per se, but it's those low level decisions of which aren't going to have lasting consequences.
Yeah. Like, do you want
I
to?
don't have the bandwidth for it right now.
Yeah. Or you're so tired. Like, we manage a lot of people all over the world, right? So it's like, it's constant. And when we're dealing with HR issues, like in the UK and we have people in Singapore, like that's hard, right? There's a lot to go on. And then there's just so much mental work that goes into that can I have the afternoon off? I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Yes, just please.
Right.
The answer is yes, or no, I need you to do this. But it's just like, even a question like that, like, and I can get really short with small decisions like that where I'm like, just freaking do it. I don't care. Like,
Yes. We're twinning right now.
Okay.
Yes. And it's not me being whoever that person is.
Yeah.
I'm not like mad at you or anything. I just
the
I'm thinking of other
tank is
things right
empty.
now. Yeah.
Like the tank and like the effort that it takes. And some of the greatest leaders that I've had the opportunity to, like as mentors, and that even people that are our clients, that where I know they're mentally fatigued and they still have that little bit extra. I haven't grown that yet. Like I think that comes
those
with
people are built different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll ever get that.
I don't know if I will either, because there's a point in my day where it just like shuts off, and I'm like, and I try to curb it as I get older. It seems harder to curb it because I'm like more comfortable with myself and being like not available. But I also realize it's not, like you just said, it's not, no one's mad at that person. It's just like, I don't need another to do. I don't need another like decision. And
Sometimes it's nice to have decisions made for you.
Yeah.
On things that like aren't.
important.
Yeah.
Or even things that are important. It's like,
Like
I don't know.
Don't diagnose my patient, but
Sure. Yeah. It's, well, and then in like like into your personal life is like, I think that's the one thing. And I think that's for me, the biggest downfall of being an entrepreneur and owning a business. And I'm lucky because my spouse and I own it together. And so there's like, talk about a person that you can trust to make decisions with. We just operate on two totally different sides of the business. So like, I'm sure there's fatigue on both sides, but, personally, your work brain never, at least mine, it doesn't turn off. Like I'm constantly working on things in the back of my mind, you know? And so when people are like, hey, let's go Sunday fun day, where I'm usually down for a good Sunday fun day, it's still like, there's just a level of not relaxing like ever. you know?
there's a, I think in medicine, we'd call it a preoccupation.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just always on your mind.
Yeah.
And I think that's born out of necessity. I mean, like you've invested so much time, energy, money, resources into this thing.
Yeah.
We're just hardwired to want to nurture that, even if it's not conducive to a Sunday fun day.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. Or just, relaxing, watching a TV show. And it's like, if I can, the one thing that can turn my mind off and I'm a little embarrassed, but like Bob's Burgers is,
I love Bob's Burgers.
it's a total mental shut off for me. Like I fall asleep listening to Bob's Burgers.
The guy who voices the wife, did you ever see his early YouTube stuff?
So you're the second person in a few weeks to say this. What is his name?
I don't know his name.
Dan Mintz.
Maybe you got to check it out.
I haven't seen it.
It's some like old YouTube stuff. It's very old, very low. But he was Joe Schmo with wearing a wig and sunglasses, like
being Linda.
Right. Well, it's the voice, but
Yeah.
really the character he was portraying was like your typical Long Island mother.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're just hilarious. Check them out.
Yeah, I will. I love Bob's Burgers so much, and like, it is one of the. It's so. I think it's very well written.
Did you know that they were supposed to be cannibals on that show?
Yes, yes.
I just learned that recently.
Yeah, I saw it was a YouTube. I think about that about how they were supposed to be cannibals. I've also read that they're like. Supposedly, I don't know. There's all kinds of like alternative things. Someone sent me I don't know if you know this, but Microsoft went down on Monday.
Outlook did.
Yeah, Outlook.
We weren't affected. We couldn't be that lucky, but
Well, we were, and it was kind of, we were lucky enough to be affected, honestly. Like, it was like, I was sending all these emails. I was waking up, I was going to have this like super productive Monday, Monday, short week, the whole nine. And I'm like, people who would normally respond by now would have responded. I had like 25 all in my outbox. Like, this is really weird. So it was Outlook and Teams. But anyway, so I had some downtime. And one of my friends sent me it was like a Bob's Burgers meme. And it was like, okay, what if Tina ended up with Zeke, which like, that's like a total normal thing. And then Louise ended up with normal size Rudy or regular size Rudy. Okay. And Jean ended up with Courtney Wheeler. And I was like, I have so many opinions on this. And I was like kind of embarrassed about my like visceral response. Yeah, I was like, Tina and Zeke, yes, I'm totally down with that. I was like, Louise would end up with Logan. I don't know, like who they hate, they're like nemesises.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where Jean goes, y'all are gonna really fall in love when you link back up in your 30s. So I think Louise and Logan, and then I think Jean would end up with his buddy Alex Papazian, his running buddy. Remember from the mile that they did?
I may have missed that episode, but
okay, but yeah, Alex and Jean, I think those two guys would end up together. And then anyway, my response to that was like, no, this is so wrong. Let me tell you why.
Yeah, no, I like that. You should pen the show creators.
Yeah, I should. I think no, Bob's Burgers is great. I think it's really well written. It's wholesome. It's easy.
I'm glad it didn't go the cannibal route.
Me too.
Probably wouldn't be. Yeah.
I don't think I would have liked it.
Yeah, that was a good change of.
I also heard that Tina was going to be a boy at one point, and at the last minute they made her a girl.
Okay.
So, yeah. What's your favorite thing about Bob's Burgers?
That's such an interesting question. The show has a lot of like dry humor in it that I enjoy.
Yeah.
I myself am a purveyor of dry humor.
Okay.
So
fair.
I like that a lot.
Who's your favorite character?
Linda.
I love Linda. Yeah. I think I love Teddy. I think he's so funny. But Jean is also way up there.
Oh wait, no. Probably Tina. Can I change my answer?
Yeah, of course. Of course you can. Tina, I love Tina too.
Yeah.
They're all so good in their own ways.
There were some pretty decent Tina Halloween costumes out there this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh God, I love the Halloween. They're all so creative.
Yeah.
What was she this year? I don't think I remember. I really get sucked into the old ones.
I don't know. Well, one of the nice things about the show is that there's no continuity to it, so I just jump in whenever I see it.
Same, yeah. I think my favorite Tina costume was when she was none of your business, and Linda didn't get it. She's like, none of your business. She's like, fine, I'm sorry.
That was a good one.
That's so funny. And then Jean, when he was Queen Latifah from her what phase? Her UNITY phase.
Okay.
And they go to King's Head Island and they're trick-or-treating and they're like full bars and someone opens the door and they see Jean and she goes, oh cool, Africa.
Oh, no. Not Africa.
That was so funny. He's like, somebody gets it. I love Bob's Burgers. It's so funny. But that's really one of the only like dialogues that pulls me out of like the stress and the worry. I don't know what it is about it. It's therapeutic to me.
Everyone's got their mindless thing. I've got a lot of friends that watch like Housewives, and I don't necessarily get there, but I feel like it's just mindless TV. It's an opportunity to turn off.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. It like totally brings my stress level down. And I think that's important. So surgeons are like high octane people. What do you do to calm down?
I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. That's a fair answer.
Oh gosh. It's such a struggle for me, and I can't speak for all my colleagues, but for me, it's such a struggle to find a work-life balance.
Yeah.
Because, the hospital consults me. I've gotten, 4 consults today. I can say no, but then that entrepreneur in me is like, if you keep saying no to these consults, they're gonna stop consulting you. Right.
Yeah.
So medicine is also not a thing that happens on your time.
Yeah.
It happens when it happens. So that's, maybe that'll end up being a forever endeavor, trying to figure out how to make it all fit. You can have anything, but you can't have everything.
Right.
So.
Right. I mean, do you run? Do you... Nope.
No, that's hilarious. That's kind of you to think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, fair. I know that like my cousin Dylan's an orthopedic PA, but he does surgery, and he is like super ripped, like just super in shape. And he's like, do you realize how much physical work it is to do surgery on people? Like,
yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, even just like prepping people's legs, you have to like scrub techs usually aren't super fit, and you have to hold these like obese people their leg up in the air for a good 3 to 5 minutes while the blood drains them down.
Sorry. Yeah. But yeah. Well, and I guess that's the thing too, is when Dylan talks about like, we did and he's not the one making these decisions, he's the PA. He's like, well, we did a total knee replacement on a 350-pound guy today. Like, would that have been my choice? No, but who am I? I'm just some PA that's, in there. But he's like, a lot of his job is
a lot of it's just holding people, managing their
body. Well, and it's dead weight too, right? Because they're just like weight, they're sleeping or whatever. Let's talk about anesthesia for a second, because it's bizarre. I've had the opportunity a few times, and I love it. Like, you go night, and then like all of a sudden you're awake.
Yeah,
it's cool. Like, what? How does that all work?
Well, there's so many different kinds of anesthesia. I assume the kind that you're talking about is intravenous sedation.
When I had my tonsils taken out, it was the first time that I was ever like under the influence, so to speak. I was in the 7th grade.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, this is awesome. But then there's like, I don't know. There's all kinds, like you said. Like,
so there's local anesthesia, there's spinal anesthesia. If you've heard of epidural,
of course.
There's intravenous sedation, or they can put you. Sometimes they call it like twilight. They can put you asleep, but you're still breathing on your own. And then there's general anesthesia, which is where they give you the good stuff, but you're paralyzed, so you can't breathe on your own. You have to put a tube down your throat to ventilate you. Those are what most of my cases are. One of the medications they give in your, it's a cocktail. It's a lot. Sure. It's a few different medications. One of them is called Versed. The beauty of Versed is it causes this phenomenon called anterograde amnesia. So when we think of the word amnesia, I typically think of I have forgotten things that have happened. But anterograde amnesia means you're going to have amnesia forward. I'm going to forget the things that are about to happen. Which sounds scary.
Yeah, kind of.
But surgery is not only physically traumatic, it's emotionally traumatic, which is why even if we can do a case under local anesthesia, we try to shield the patient with a drape or whatever from having to see what's going on, because those types of things can leave mental scars. So Versed is as a utility there. It's a really great drug to help not only people calm down or relieve their anxiety, but it has this pleasant side effect of anterograde amnesia, so that they don't remember the experience. We don't want people remembering their surgeries.
Yeah.
That's not good. And I've had a few surgeries myself. I don't remember a thing. I remember being in the pre-op and waking up in the post-op.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah. And is that like, well, I guess that's true. Whereas like sometimes my dad had back surgery and it was very, 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 and I remember hearing him where they wouldn't let us go back to the recovery room because he was like, but he says he didn't remember it at all. But I was like, how could you not remember that? You were like, I could
in pain.
hear you
Yeah.
very much in pain. Like,
we don't want people remembering those experiences, and it's not that we're trying to hide or cover something
who
up.
wants
It's,
to remember that?
It's surgery. There's a reasonable expectation of discomfort. I mean, we're coming at you with sharp objects.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt. We
Yeah.
do everything we can to mitigate the pain. Multimodal pain management, local anesthesia, all of those things to make sure you're comfortable. But it's good that we have these medications available so that people don't remember the experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because like you said, it's interesting to think because it would be traumatic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, that's.
And even just the operative environment is very intimidating.
Sure. It's cold.
Every now and then I'll get a patient, and for whatever reason, it could be, maybe they have maybe their mental faculties aren't there.
Sure.
And something that I could have normally done in the office, like a skin biopsy or something, will have to be done in an operative setting. So I wouldn't exactly call that traumatic, or we just got to do a little biopsy, but just that environment can be very scary.
Sure. Sure.
So-
Well, it is. I mean, any kind of like, I don't know. I think for a lot of people, there's doctor anxiety. And as it's becoming more, as we have things like TikTok and Instagram and all these things where people are able to communicate more openly, I see a lot of stuff about, like, especially with women, like, doctor anxiety of like, I don't, they don't believe me, or they say I need antidepressants, or, all of these things that people are hearing back from their doctors. And it's like, well, why even go?
My philosophy, and this sort of has a lot to do with this phrase you'll hear a lot in medicine of the drug-seeking patient.
The drug. Okay. Yeah.
So 95% of the people who will come to my office, and this is true for many medical subspecialties, is because they're having pain.
Okay.
That's the thing that prompts them, oh, I should go to the doctor. I'm having pain, right? That's the thing that brings you in the door.
Sure.
It's unfortunate, but I'll hear a lot of physicians say, oh, well, they're just drug seeking. I have to say that if I was in pain and I knew that there was a substance that could alleviate that pain, I would be seeking that substance.
Sure.
Not because it was, not because I had like nefarious intentions or
Sure.
I wasn't going to sell on the street, but I just don't want to be in pain anymore. So by definition, purely, I would be drug seeking.
Yeah.
My philosophy as a physician is, it's not my job to determine if your complaint is real or not. So I always believe my patients. I don't ever think it's in their head or whatever, because it's real to them. It's not my job to sniff out if it's real, it's not real, if you're just trying to convince me of something so that you can procure something.
Sure.
I would rather treat 100 fake complaints than miss the one that was real.
Yeah.
And if people are doing it to try to outsmart me to get something, they're only hurting themselves. I'm not going to concern myself with but I mean, if you come in and tell me you have a history of IV drug use and
right, but my foot hurts really bad.
I want those perk 20s, then okay.
Maybe. When they're like asking you what to prescribe.
Then maybe some red flags go up. But
yeah, and I think that what you just said just like triggered an interesting thought for me is that you go to the doctor when you're in pain. But and that's like, oh, this hurts, I need to go see a doctor, instead of like keeping up with your health of like just like your annual visits and kind of doing your annual blood work and all of that stuff, which I would assume.
Yeah, there are some really, really good preventative tests, which I think are just not evangelized as much as they should be.
Yeah.
It's your A1C to see what your blood sugar is, and it's a coronary artery calcium score to know your risk of heart attack or stroke secondary to atherosclerotic disease.
What's
so like high cholesterol, chronically elevated cholesterol. So it seems to be those are, as far as systemic
those
disease
three
goes. Yeah, those are
the three big ones. So it's interesting because I found out I had a heart issue several years ago and found an excellent cardiologist who's preventative, and he's like, no, let's turn this around, let's be preventive, which I appreciated. But my GP and my OB was never like, but he always it's always my cholesterol, my heart score, the plaque score, whatever, and my A1Cs. Those are the three. Like he always checks those every year when I go see, and I only have to see him once a year now, which is excellent. But I didn't like, that wasn't like on the forefront of any doctors that I had ever seen before, which is kind of interesting that you brought it up.
Yeah, I mean, I always try to practice preventative medicine, but there is a line that has to be towed. those tests I feel are very reasonable, and I always encourage them. But what I mean by that, there's a line is, like, I don't recommend that everybody get a full body scan every year to see if they have cancer.
Sure.
That's a use of resources that other people who could make better use of it, should need.
Yeah, but if you're getting labs done,
right? Exactly. That's
just run them
just
through.
Be reasonable.
Yeah, like you got your blood anyway. Like
right.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I think that's the other thing too is that, like, as at least for me, as I became an adult. And I admittedly, other than seeing my cardiologist, I'm probably not the best patient for preventative stuff. Like, I see him because my heart's important. Like, he fixed my problem. I trust him. He runs my tests. Like, everything's good. But, like, I think that there's, like, a transition from you're a child and your parent is in charge of your care and your doctoring and you're picking up your prescriptions and all of that to suddenly, like, then you're in college and you, like, have the clinic on campus but you're, like... You're on your own, and then you're an adult and you're on your own health insurance and the whole nine. And I think there's very little education and instruction on that transition.
Yep.
Until something happens and you have to get serious about it. Which I'm not the person to solve that. It just seems like.
Yeah. So I would always encourage people to be proactive about their health. I think a lot of people are afraid because of like just like a social convention. They think that they can't ask their doctor for something. Like,
why do you think that is?
I don't know. People just sometimes people are not good about advocating for themselves. They think like, I can't ask my doctor for that. Of course you can. The worst that they're going to say is no.
Yeah.
Or they may look deeper into that. Why do you think you need this test or that medicine?
Sure.
And they can look into that. Mind readers.
Yeah, of course. And even like, I want to be delicate. Had a conversation with someone recently who was having a baby in an advanced stage of her life. And things that were coming up, she's like, I don't want to feel judged by my doctor. And I was like, I've talked to my cousin Dylan about it, and he's like, we see so many people, like, no one's judging you.
I work a lot in an emergency room.
Okay.
I can't tell you how often I'm going in there and I'm seeing x-rays of people with stuff up their butt. Okay.
Seriously?
Yes, it happens so often.
Okay.
It's fairly routine at this point. I'm not involved in that care at all, obviously.
Yeah, you're knee and below.
But the fact that I'm peripheral and still hearing about it,
sure,
it happens so often. No one's judging you for this. We're doctors. I treat homeless people.
Yeah.
My job is dirty. I see really gross stuff every day.
Yeah.
I think if this individual was making if they were doing really crazy things like drinking during their pregnancy, and I'm sure they're not, but that might be like, but no, absolutely. If that's so routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, it's such a vulnerable place to be with your body, and
I'm sure
you're with and I'm not even just talking about her. I'm just talking about like anyone. You go to a doctor and they're like, take your clothes off, put this gown on. I'm going to look under the hood or in the hood or whatever.
I get people asking me if they're like, do I need to take my shoes off? Like,
I'm a podiatrist.
Yeah. I don't have x-ray vision.
Yeah. You're like, yes, please.
Yeah.
Well, it's
to
just
your point. Yeah.
It's just like an interesting, you're vulnerable. It's like we had, there's, enamel dentistry is coming in right over by the Frost Bank. And
I need a good dentist.
They're excellent. We had the opportunity to chat with them a few weeks ago, and, they were talking about the vulnerability about going to the dentist and how they're like, we hate going to the dentist. Like, we're dentists. Like, think about it. You're laying you're on your back. Someone's leaning over you. You're really tilted more where your feet are higher than your head. You're in the weakest position you could possibly be in. And you've got these people over you in your mouth,
right.
like
bright lights,
like
sounds. Yeah.
People hate the dentist anyway. And they said the same thing. They're like, yeah, it's really uncomfortable for a little while. And we do that to you. Like, it's a very vulnerable position to be in, and their whole goal, and you should meet them. I would love to introduce you because they're so cool. They're like, we try to make it as calm and as comfortable. It's like, you want laughing gas? We'll give you laughing gas. You want to go night-night? Well, you can go night-night. Like, all those things is like, they're like, we're trying to kind of dispel this myth of the fear of dentistry. Like
Right.
you need to go to the dentist. It's important. And like, it's also not the worst. It's not great, but it doesn't have to be the worst. Like
Right.
there's a middle ground.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I threw at them. That was really funny. I asked them how closely they worked with the uvula, which I got from a Bob's Burgers reference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they thought that was funny. But these guys are super cool. Dr. C is a beatboxer, and he beatboxed on the podcast, which is really cool. And Dr. Patel did Mariah Carey on the podcast. So he sang.
He sang. Okay.
He sang Mariah Carey. Do you remember what song, Steve?
I don't.
I don't either, but it was excellent.
I was going to say it was like a Mariah Carey impression.
Well, yeah, singing karaoke. I guess his passion is Mariah Carey karaoke. I could have teed that up better. And then Dr. C beatboxed.
Okay,
and,
wow.
They're just super cool. They're going to be in the neighborhood. They should be your dentist. They're going to be ours. And so let's actually, which brings me to, where is your practice?
We are off of Ben White.
Okay.
If you know where that Target is there.
Yeah.
We're kind of kitty corner from there. The street name is Pack Saddle Pass.
Oh, I know where you're at. I've seen there's a sign of your.
We've got a little sign. It's on one of those big signs with like lots
with
of.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about. That's awesome. And like 15 minutes from here.
Yeah, not far at all. We have, hopefully in the future, we hope to move out of there into our own building. It'll probably be something closer to here.
Yeah. Excellent.
Someone will get your mail.
Yeah. then someone's going to get your mail. But that would be a success story.
Well, poor Dr. D, he didn't make it.
Yeah. Where did he go? You're in a long list.
Oh, gosh.
People. Oh, my gosh. That's so funny. Okay. So as far as your business and entrepreneurial ventures that you have 2 of now and all the other things we've talked about, is there anything else you want to add?
Gosh, no, I don't think so. If anybody needs foot or ankle care on any degree of the spectrum, there's nothing too big, nothing too small.
Okay.
Come see us.
Yeah. And so they just call in? Is there like go to your website?
You can book appointments right through our website, but we also, Sherry,
Call Sherry.
She'll be happy to take your call and make that appointment for you.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Jeff, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
And Easton Park, meet your new neighbor, Dr. Jeff.
Hey guys.
What neighborhood are you in?
Prospect Park.
Prospect Park.
Yeah.
It's here. It's beautiful. I haven't been over there.
It's nice. Yeah, it's still being built.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you all next time.